Welcome back to Amateurish, the podcast. I'm Rhett.
And I'm Logan.
This is a mini, semi emergency podcast by the guys who you're saying, oh, these guys again podcast?
So it's just gonna get some pre-draft coverage for the big day. We got some big news going on in the NBA. We got two coaches recently hired, and then we had two pretty big trades. We'll start with the coaches. We had JJ Redick hired by the Lakers, who we've been discussing this on previous episodes, and then we had Kenny Atkinson hired by the Cavaliers. What do you think? Initial reactions?
JJ Redick. First of all, he had a very long, productive career. He maximized his ability in the NBA. Cannot question it. He's supposedly a basketball savant. Can't question that. I can, however, question this franchise hiring this coach. First of all, first-year coaches are historically poor in their first coaching stint. There's only one or two exceptions, the most notable being
Pat Riley.
Steve Kerr.
Oh, yes.
But Kerr inherited a team that was 51-31. Yes, he won a championship and went on to great success. He's the exception. He's not the rule.
Pat Riley.
Pat Riley, way back when.
Yeah.
And Isaiah Thomas had a little success. A couple other guys
Yeah,
in his first coaching stint.
Right.
But no one, if you take out Kerr and maybe one other coach, the winning record for first-time coaches is way below 500.
Yeah.
So this franchise that knows it has to maximize the last productive years of LeBron James' career hired first-time coach. Who knows? He could be a great coach, but they historically have not done well. And second, he clearly wasn't their first choice.
No.
Otherwise, they wouldn't have offered Dan and Hurley the
And he
job.
addressed that in his opening introductory press conference where he said, I understand he's a two-time national champ. And he said he wasn't bothered by it.
And then the other problem I have with it is the perception. Here we have a former athlete who's white given a shot ahead of longtime assistants like Sam Cassell, Charles Lee, some other guys that they interviewed. The coach in New Orleans, the assistant coach who has some coaching experience.
Some Heat guys, Teron Butler, Chris Quinn.
That Spoelstra coaching tree is not wide. It's more like a palm tree. It doesn't provide a lot of shade. But who knows? Redick may be good, but here's the thing. I hear all the pundits coming in and saying the Lakers, as currently constructed, forget what they do in the draft, forget what they do in free agency, as currently constructed are better. How? They had historically healthy seasons from LeBron James and Anthony Davis. They had historically great shooting years from LeBron James and D'Angelo Russell. Do we expect history to repeat itself? No. So I don't. But history here tells us that there's got to be a regression.
Yeah, I don't think if their expectation is maybe squeeze out another deep playoff run or their goal is to win a championship, I don't understand the hiring of a first-year coach.
It sounds to me like the Lakers want to be the Dallas Cowboys. Relevant, profitable, but not winners.
Yeah. And then the other big coaching addition was Kenny Atkinson to the Cavs, rejoining some of his former players, Karis LeVert, Jared Allen from the Nets back in the day. I'm a big fan of this hire. I wasn't a fan of the firing of J.B. Bickerstaff, but I think Kenny Atkinson is definitely a head coach level. I'm surprised that he hasn't been out of a head coaching job for so long, and he was with the Warriors past couple of years. I think it's a good fit. Obviously, he's familiar with some of those players. I think it's a good hire.
I can't disagree. He's a good coach. I think it comes down to two things. One, where's Donovan Mitchell's head?
Yeah, with all of this.
And he had to have been consulted. If he's still going to be a part of the team, you had to go to Mitchell and say, what do you think?
Yeah.
Also, it took them a long time to make this pick. And for a team that's had playoff success, has been a winner the last few years, and has young talent, that's a surprise.
Yeah, but it's not like they're the Lakers, a giant search, and they got JJ Redick. I think they got their guy. I would give it a B plus, probably higher. But those were the big coaching decisions. Now let's move on to the trade. Then we had two big ones. First, we had, which is a crazy one, which was Giddey for Alex Caruso straight up. The Bulls are getting Josh Giddey, and then the Thunder are receiving Alex Caruso. We've talked about this a lot. Social media's talked about this a lot. And I know you have very strong opinions on this. Let the people know.
Yeah, I don't understand the trade at all for either team. First of all,
but we can acknowledge the clear winner is OKC.
Only because they got the better player now.
Caruso's not that old.
Not that old, but Giddey's just 21.
Caruso's the better player.
Caruso's the better player.
And also,
some respects. There are things Giddey does better.
You weren't watching Giddey then last year. He was awful. He's a liability on the court. They could not play him. He got benched in the playoffs. And they were to keep all their draft picks.
True. And that reason I give them a B-. Okay. Only because they got an asset. They didn't have to mess with their stockpile of draft picks. And Josh Giddey, they didn't like. He was their Jordan Poole.
But Jordan Poole at least was productive, and and Josh Giddey put up some numbers. But think about it, like the spacing was awful with him out there.
I mean, 2 years ago he was 16, 6, and 7
as a rookie before Shea's ascension, without Chet Holmgren, or Shea was obviously a great player before like MVP level ascension without Chet Holmgren, without some key pieces.
Yeah, I understand. Look, a player doesn't succeed for you, and you know him every day.
And there were some issues off the court.
When you know him every day. And that's why I said Jordan Poole. Jordan Poole in the playoffs for the Warriors was benched. Giddey,
not the championship run,
was benched. Both teams, the Warriors and Thunder, said this is not a fit going forward. Traded young players. Caruso, for my money, he's an excellent defender. He's one of the top 15 defenders. Great on ball. I think he was second or first in deflections, adding to the Thunder, which was second or third in deflections overall. The problem is people say, well, Caruso's a playmaker. He's not. He is above average league shooter for his career, and he shot very well this last year. But there's going to be some regression. I think it was historically his best ever shooting year. So there should be some regression there. And I don't.
But that's not true. When he's not old, a player can improve his shooting and become a good shooter.
Yeah, but it's not. You have to give me a sample size.
A whole season.
No, but then what about?
It's not like he was 30% and went up to 40. It's not a regression to the mean. I think it's just a gradual improvement.
It raised his career average above the league average. If we think 37's the league average, and it might be lower. This season raised it. The last 2 years have raised it. So maybe he stays that productive.
Yeah.
But he's not huge volume. He averaged 10 points a game.
But I think he's a good addition. I think it's like, who doesn't want Alex Caruso on their team?
He's an asset. But what I don't understand is you have not the same player, but you have similar players in Case and Wallace and Lou Dort, not Dortz. So I don't understand who is going to be on the court at the same time, because Wallace, Caruso are just average, below average scorers. They're good, decent shooters now, and so is Dort. I just don't know that you can play all of those guys together. But he's an asset, best player in the
I think we're focusing too much on the Thunder nitpicking as opposed to the Bulls, who just straight up got fleeced.
Here's the
First of all, go
ahead.
If they're gonna blow it up, it's 2 years too late, like we said on some other episodes, and to not even get a single draft pick from the league's richest team is ridiculous. And losing out on Caruso, Giddey, I mean, I don't know the direction they're going in here.
We were told last year around the trade deadline that Caruso would net 2 first-round picks. Now, I don't know that's true, but even a single first-round pick here might have been better.
Yeah.
And the initial gut reaction when you heard the trade was, oh, the Bulls are blowing it up, right?
Yeah.
They're not. They added a year of salary. Giddey has 2 years on his deal. Caruso was his last year. Giddey, but Giddey is interesting. He's 21 years old. He passes the ball very well. He's a good rebounder
He's
for
the
his
first
size.
ever baseline out of bounds patch specialist.
Right. So he has
That was not a compliment.
But he has a skill set. He's not a non-contributor. The problem is, how do you play Giddey alongside DeMar DeRozan?
Well, DeRozan's out of the team by the end of the offseason.
To me, I don't understand it. It's a directionless move. It doesn't really add to your playoff chances, and it doesn't add to your rebuild.
Yeah.
Maybe they see him as a backup plan if Lonzo Ball can't go.
Yeah. Also, if Lonzo's coming back, then you have the point guard. But for the sake of the mini episode, let's move on to the final trade, which was just happened last night. The Nova Knicks just added one more. We saw Bojan Bogdanovic traded to the Nets for Mikal Bridges, and the Knicks also gave up a plethora of picks.
5 first-round picks.
So obviously, the player's an upgrade. Mikal Bridges over, but there's some concerns. We saw OG Anunoby opt out of his contract, which is something I didn't predict on our last episode. He's now a free agent. The problem is Mikal Bridges has a similar skill set to OG Anunoby, and they're of similar quality. I would probably say Bridges is a better player,
Yeah.
but they do the same things well. Now, if they don't re-sign OG, then they traded away Emmanuel Quickley, RJ Barrett, and five picks for Mikal Bridges,
Right.
which is a complete overpay.
Correct.
Now, if they re-sign OG, they do what Indiana did with Pascal Siakam, which was prevent a half-year rental and losing out on assets. But the thing is, there's now a clog in their rotation if they do re-sign OG. However, I will say, they're looking good.
Yeah, I mean, if you're going to grade this trade from the Knicks' perspective, for the short term, it's an A-.
But long term,
it's an incomplete.
My friend and I was having a conversation, and we said this is a win now trade.
Correct.
100%. Like they're going all in next year. And also, if they re-sign OG Anunoby, they probably can't afford Isaiah Hartenstein.
Correct.
And then Mitchell Robinson's also likely walking, so you lose a lot of front court depth. And also, there's going to be decent players coming off the bench for them next year, regardless of what happens.
Yeah, this was a trade to compete with the Celtics.
100%. I think they're planning on trying to re-sign OG to match up with the Wings.
Correct. Then you have 2 premier wing defenders. I would say Bridges is a better player. One,
I agree with you.
He's durable.
Phibbs is going to test him to.
I mean,
he's played over like 400 games in a row.
Yeah.
And their NBA higher ups are like, we have one man to stop him.
Right. And
Tom Thibodeau.
But he's also a very good scorer. No, I mean, you look at his mini season with the Nets, he averaged 26
Well,
points.
he also had another season with the Nets.
Well, he averaged
And
just
also-
under 20. I mean, it was 20
With
points.
the 26, they won like 3 games in that stretch.
No, I understand that there was a bad team. He was getting the points, but he's
No,
still,
he's a better scorer than OG. I
Yeah.
agree with you, but I wouldn't like describe him as a marquee scorer. I'd go, I would say he's more than a 3-and-D.
Yeah.
But that type of level of production.
So yeah, that's the grade I would give them, is an A- on the player, because there's not many guys like him available. I initially thought, as soon as I saw it, they're not going to be able to re-sign OG.
Yeah.
This is trade 1 for the Knicks. They have to clear out some cap space to try to re-sign Hartenstein or commit long-term to Mitchell Robinson. I think Robinson is traded, and that might give them enough wiggle room to re-sign both OG and Hartenstein. But nonetheless, they are a contender,
100%.
and they still have enough draft capital.
They have all-star role players.
Right, but they also have enough draft capital and Julius Randle
Yeah.
to potentially secure another player.
Yeah, I don't know what the direction is with Julius Randle. if I'm the Knicks front office, I'm trying to move him.
Yeah.
But regardless, it's a talented player you have on your hands, and I think the Nova Knicks are looking pretty nice.
Sad that it's the Knicks franchise. Now,
Yeah.
the other side of the trade involved a second trade. The Brooklyn Nets traded some of their draft capital to the Houston Rockets to get back critically their pick next year. Now, this is interesting. The Nets are a franchise that's located in one of the most media hot cities in the world. They have a beautiful, expensive arena. They have a very wealthy owner. To go from the Kevin Durant years to
Who's your
the
star?
Cam Thomas years, they are all in on Cooper Flag.
Or yeah, I would say the rebuilding process, but that's probably who they're tanking for.
They absolutely.
Which, in our last episode, we mentioned Nick Claxton is an upcoming free agent, and the question is, are they going to re-sign him? You think so?
I mean, they have to spend the money. There's just salary cap rules. So you might as well, because you can always move him.
Mm-hmm.
My concern is Cooper Flag is an excellent player, and he's the number one pick, but he's not a transformative scorer. And so you're going to have to pair him with a guy like an Anthony Edwards, a John Morant, a guy.
Cam Thomas, best scorer in the league.
Okay. But I thought they did a tremendous job, because then they traded the draft capital to Houston
to get their pick back.
Now, Houston, I'm going to give them a B-, but they added the draft picks to try to trade for somebody.
Yeah.
The rumor is Kevin Durant. I don't think that's going to happen. But this is clearly a win now trade for the Rockets. The Nets, man, 5 draft picks for Mikal Bridges.
Yeah, they got a haul, if you think about it, for Kevin Durant in the long run. They got a ton of players.
Right.
But that's going to conclude our mini episode. We want to keep it kind of brief. And we have a big night today and then tomorrow with our draft coverage. So we'll see y'all in this next episode. Please like and subscribe. And peace.